A touch that feels like poetry is not just a simple press of skin on skin, but an expression of something far deeper, something that resonates with the very soul of the person touched. It is a touch that goes beyond the physical, reaching into the intangible spaces where words fall short and emotions linger like a whisper. It's the gentle caress of a loved one that transcends the act itself, speaking volumes of care, connection, and understanding. In that fleeting moment, the world around fades away, and all that remains is the exchange of energy between two people. The touch, tender yet powerful, becomes a bridge, connecting hearts and minds in a way that is inexplicable and intimate. It is in these quiet moments, when the touch is the only language spoken, that poetry comes alive. For poetry is not always written in verses, but often felt in the simplest of acts, and a touch that feels like poetry embodies that beautiful truth. A touch that feels like poetry is one that resonates with depth. It is a gesture that speaks without uttering a single word, carrying within it an entire story. The fingers brushing gently against the cheek, the subtle interlocking of hands, the soft embrace that lingers just long enough to convey the fullness of affection. These are not mere physical actions, they are moments of connection that evoke memories, stir emotions, and spark unspoken understanding. It is a language older than speech itself, a language that communicates in the quiet spaces between actions, where the heart does most of its talking. A touch like this is not rushed or fleeting. It is intentional, full of meaning, and grounded in the present. It has the ability to transport us to places of deep introspection or to ignite the flame of desire. It can heal wounds we didn't know we had or offer comfort when words fail. In this silence, the touch becomes a poem, each movement a verse, each connection a line. The beauty of a touch that feels like poetry lies in its capacity to evoke emotion. It's a feeling that stays with you long after the moment has passed, lingering in the memory like the fading scent of a flower. It's the type of touch that can make you feel known, seen, and cherished. There is something profoundly human in it, a sense that for that brief moment you are not alone in the world. Whether it is a partner's touch or the hand of a friend offering support, the sensation of being touched in such a way connects us to the essence of what it means to be human. This kind of touch is more than skin deep, it speaks to the emotional and psychological fabric of our being, reminding us that we are all capable of deep connection. The beauty lies not only in the physical sensation but in the emotional imprint it leaves behind. A reminder that poetry is often written not with words, but through feelings and experiences shared between people. A touch that feels like poetry is also transformative. It is capable of changing the very atmosphere around it, altering the dynamics between two individuals, or even the entire energy of a room. A simple touch can shift from a fleeting gesture to a lasting memory, one that is cherished and remembered long after the moment has passed. In those moments, the touch carries with it a power that can make us feel more alive, more connected to others, and more in tune with the present moment. It can remind us that even in a world that often feels fragmented and distant, we still possess the ability to bridge those divides through the most basic of human gestures. The beauty of a touch like this lies in its subtlety. It is often not the grand sweeping gestures that make the biggest impact, but the quiet moments of connection, the delicate unspoken exchanges that weave through the fabric of our lives, leaving behind traces of their beauty and significance. There is an undeniable strength in a touch that feels like poetry. It is not just in the tenderness or the gentleness of the gesture, but in its ability to transcend barriers, to dissolve the walls we often build around ourselves. A touch like this has the power to break through the armor we wear, to reach the places inside us that we hide from the world. It is an act of vulnerability, both giving and receiving, that can bring people closer in ways that words alone cannot. Whether it is a comforting hand on the back or the brush of fingers across the wrist, this kind of touch breaks down the walls of isolation, inviting intimacy and trust into spaces that might otherwise remain closed. It is through touch that we often find our greatest moments of connection, and in those moments we experience something profound, the recognition that we are not alone, that we are capable of reaching out, and that we can be reached in return. Touch, when it feels like poetry, also has the power to evoke a deep sense of belonging. It is the recognition that we are not merely individuals floating in a sea of faces, but that we are part of a shared human experience. A touch like this binds us together, reminding us that no matter how far we may wander, we are all tethered by our ability to connect with others. There is an inherent beauty in this sense of interconnectedness, one that transcends time and space. A touch that feels like poetry is a thread that runs through the tapestry of our lives, weaving us into the lives of others, and creating a sense of unity that is both powerful and humbling. It reminds us that our individual stories are part of a larger narrative, one that is shaped by the touches we share and the connections we form. And in this sense, every touch becomes a stanza in the great poem of life. It is through this kind of touch that we learn the language of love, empathy and care. A touch that feels like poetry is more than an act of physical connection. It is a reflection of the emotional and spiritual bond between individuals. It is an offering of one's presence, a way of saying without words, I am here with you in this moment and I understand you. This is the essence of touch that transcends the physical. It carries with it the unspoken messages of support, compassion and understanding. It is a language that can be shared across generations, cultures and experiences. A grandmother's hand on a child's head, a lover's gentle stroke along the spine, the firm grip of a friend who has your back, each of these touches speaks volumes about the shared human experience. They are the poems written in silence, understood by the heart long before the mind has time to comprehend. A touch that feels like poetry also holds the power to convey vulnerability. When we reach out to another person, we are offering a piece of ourselves, exposing our inner thoughts and emotions, often without even realizing it. A simple touch can be a mirror to the soul, reflecting our needs, our desires and our fears. It is in these moments of vulnerability that we often find our truest connections, as the touch reveals a part of us that might otherwise remain hidden. It is through this act of exposing ourselves, of allowing another to reach in, that we find strength. It is through vulnerability that we discover the courage to open ourselves to others, to let them in and share in our experiences. And in doing so we often find a deeper connection, one that is built on trust and mutual understanding. A touch that feels like poetry is at its core, an act of opening up and inviting another person into our most intimate spaces. The effect of a touch that feels like poetry extends far beyond the immediate moment. It is not simply an experience that fades once the physical connection is broken, rather it leaves behind an echo, a resonance that continues to ripple through our lives. The memory of a touch that feels like poetry lingers in our minds and hearts, coloring the way we view the world and the way we interact with others. It teaches us the power of presence, the importance of being fully engaged with another person, and the profound impact that small gestures can have. It reminds us that we are not isolated in our experiences, but that we are part of a larger narrative, one that is written not only in words but also in the ways we touch, connect and share our lives with one another. A touch that feels like poetry leaves an imprint on the soul, one that cannot be erased or forgotten. It becomes a part of who we are, shaping our understanding of love, connection, and what it means to be truly seen. In the end, a touch that feels like poetry is an experience that goes beyond the physical. It is a connection that touches the deepest parts of our being. It is a language that is spoken through action, not words, and it carries with it the weight of everything that is left unsaid. It has the power to heal, to transform, and to connect us to something greater than ourselves. In a world that often feels disconnected and fragmented, a touch like this is a reminder of the beauty of human connection and the profound impact we can have on each other. It is through these moments of contact, these silent exchanges of energy, that we come to understand the true depth of what it means to be human, to love, to feel, and to share in the experience of life together.